cozy.
So thank you so much for talking with me today. I enjoyed you in The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster. Can you tell us a little bit about what drew you to this character and why did you want to play this character?
Sure, sure. Um, what drew me to the character the most is Bomani's vision, his take on the character. Um, Particularly, you could look at the character of Kango on paper, and he, sort of seems like your typical drug dealer, up to no good,
Mhm.
perpetuating the same stereotype of like brothers in the hood. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, of course, what police would love to be the stereotype for black people in the hood. So for me, I didn't want to play that same character, and that's something that I'm hold great reservation about,
Mhm.
especially when I choose characters. Is like, am I a part of the problem or the solution?
Mhm.
And so getting to hear Bomani's vision for Kango, but not just Kango, all of the characters in general. I mean, Donald's plight, Vicaria's plight, Chris's plight, and how he wanted to make them all three-dimensional. Then that to me was exciting because I got to be a part of something that was more well-rounded, um, that I was able to sort of at least change the narrative or challenge the narrative to
Mhm.
make people consider who these people can be rather than who they are on the surface.
Mhm. Because even during the film, like, were you objective of doing horror, or do you like horror, or is something that just kind of sparked your interest when you first kind of saw the script and your character?
Ah, I mean, listen, I'll put it this way. I'm not against horror at all. There's certain horror films that I truly enjoy, but as an actor, a lot of times you don't think of it as genre when
Mhm.
you're playing a character. The truth is the truth. And so if the stakes and the circumstances on paper require that, you don't almost sort of think of it as horror.
Mhm.
Uh, and I would like to imagine, and maybe this is me just being a little bit hopeful, but you
Mhm.
would hope to imagine that no matter what the genre is, specifically if it's like horror, that it's not written specifically like horror. Because then you get into the campy projects where it's like, oh, we're playing up this bit for the scare, or we're playing up this bit,
Mhm.
rather than it just being real.
Mhm.
So no, when I read this project and the way, Bomani has written it, of course there are horror elements to it,
Mhm.
naturally. But it doesn't play like that. When you're finding the essence, or you're finding, moment to moment, or why these characters are stuck in the certain circumstances, you just play it kind of as the truth on page.
Yes, because your character, I feel like he holds like some type of leadership just in within his community. There's like layers of him being a caretaker that really kind of adds to his character. Can you talk about the approach and motivation in portraying this type of character, and how did you navigate his journey while encountering the actual monster within the community he has built?
Sure, sure, sure. So, immediately, when Bomani and I first started talking about the character, he really gave all of us a lot of creative freedom, a lot of agency to really, take these characters and make them our own. And particularly, one of the things that we wanted to know was, who is Kango? He portrays himself as a thug. He portrays himself as sort of a villain, or somebody that you love to hate, but he's a thinker. His skill is intellect. And so once we started looking at the pieces, like, okay, well, we have, Jamal, who is kind of like his right man, his right hand, like muscle per se. Well, Jamal in size is huge. And, even just looking at myself as an actor, and Keith is much larger than I am. So it's like, well, how do you get somebody that big to sort of fall under your thumb, or to
Mhm.
take command from you? And the thing that Kango has most is his intellect. And so as we started crafting the backstory of who Kango is, we started thinking about, okay, well, who were his OGs? Who was his pops to the block? Who is he to this community? Does he want to harm the community? Is he looking out for the community like he truly says he is? Is he providing opportunity? These are all the questions that Bomani would challenge me with, and then we would kind of go back and forth and, continue to craft the ideas. Um, and I'm not a naturally sinister or commanding person. So to find the nugget of who Kango is, I had to do the research. When we got to North Carolina, there was only one show that I wanted to watch in particular for this, and that was The Wire. I had never seen it up
Mm.
until last year, and also too, just watching it, I knew that a character like Stringer Bell, like a character like Omar, um, you know, I don't know why I keep blanking on his name, but what's my man's name? Jamie Hector's character within The Wire.
Yeah.
Uh, just taking those characters, putting them in a bowl, and
Mhm.
what makes them interesting. How do they use their intellect? How do they use their wit? But also, how do they press upon their power to get what they want? You know, and oftentimes power is a delicate game, because just because you have it doesn't mean you should flex it at that moment. And these were things that, again, Bomani and I were almost playing mental chess with creating Kango.
Especially with like with The Wire, you said it's like just having that element. Was it like a particular episode or something that you saw that kind of was like, okay, this is kind of relating to my character. I need to kind of transition into that mode when I'm playing him.
Well, the reason why I use The Wire in particular is like, and not to point negative to any other examples, but
Mhm.
it's just such an excellent show. And even prior to watching it, you hear about how wonderfully crafted these characters are. And as soon as I started, within the first two, three episodes, I was like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
These are well-written, three-dimensional characters. And that's what I was looking for with Kango, is how do you make him a three-dimensional character? It's on the page, but how do I put that within my body, and make sure the representation comes across? Again, leading back to kind of where we started, is I didn't want to play a stereotype. I didn't want to perpetuate the same narrative for a character like Kango, or just black men in the hood in general. So it's not so much a particular episode, but to me, it's the writing that really shows the humanity in a person. Just because somebody on surface is one way, just because they present themselves as one way, doesn't mean we don't shed tears, doesn't mean we don't cry, or feel a certain type of way for the people that we love. And how we express love might be different than how other people express love.
Very true. What do you hope for audience to just see from the angry Black girl and her monster? Just like you said, representation of just how we're portrayed in the Black community, but is there something else that you want to see that people take away just by watching it?
I think that's the biggest takeaway. And not just for selfishly myself and the character Kango, it's for all of the characters.
Mm.
That's Bomani's biggest motif within this film, is that there's more to everybody beneath the surface, and circumstantially, because they're put in these predicaments that they find themselves in, doesn't mean they can't be more.
Mhm.
And so often, especially for us within our own community, we're judged right off of the bat based on our environment, based off of our skin color, without really being given a chance to flourish and to be who we truly can be. And so I think that's the big underlying message here.
Mhm.
Um, the Angry Black Runner Monster, that I hope people are able to take away from, not just the shock and awe and the gore and the horror of it all, but to really leave with a long lasting message.
Yes. Do you have any favorite moments from just being on set?
Yeah, yeah, I do. Some that maybe I don't know if they're okay to speak on, but no, honestly, it was a wonderful time shooting. Just an incredible cast and crew. Shooting in North Carolina was wonderful. Uh, Particularly, there was one scene, and it's sort of, excuse me, a part of the climax for the film, is Leia and I were stuck in this very, very hot room. We're shooting during the summer
Ooh, yeah.
of southern heat. So you could only imagine, it's like 90 to 100 degrees, very hot and humid. The air conditioning was not working on the stage, and we had to turn it off in between takes.
Wow.
because you could hear the sound.
Mm.
And so we're in basically the sound studio that's like, think of it like a giant microwave.
Oof.
And take after take, we have to get our breath up, get this intensity going because, it's laborious what we're doing, but also too, it's heightened by fear and anxiety and it's a tense moment.
Mm.
I tell you, we almost passed out that day. We had to take it. We had to be very much conscious of the way we were pushing our bodies
Mm.
because it's like being in a sweat chamber.
Oof.
And I am thankful that we survived that.
Yes.
I'm thankful that we survived that. But also too, there were just some fun moments between Leia and I where we got to challenge each other. Between Keith and I, where we got to be brothers. And also not so much brothers, which I'm not going to spoil it, but I love that. I love the nuance where you get to work with another actor and really just kind of hit the page.
Mm.
Uh, that to me was memorable, all of it.
Yes. Because do you have I would say a memory or a favorite moment within the script that you read that you feel like will resonate with people or just with yourself in general?
You know, one of the scenes that Bomani had penned that I really enjoyed playing
Mm.
was when Vicaria first comes to Kango's apartment.
Mm.
And he talks about a grain of rice and what that means to him. That to me was particularly a powerful scene for me to play.
Mm.
And I really enjoyed finding the nuance, finding the meaning within the words. And also too, just the metaphor of rice, I think is really interesting.
Mm.
As someone who recently bought a rice cooker and started cooking rice in my own home, I think about that scene often. Um, but too, kind of the unfortunately what's plaguing our community right now with fentanyl as
Mm.
well. It really, really makes you consider the size of a grain of rice
Mm.
in a particular way. And I think there's so much nuance within that scene. And it was just wonderful what Bomani was able to craft. And I'm just very, very honored and happy to bring those words together. Like that to me was a very powerful scene that I enjoyed.
Mhm. Because you've done so much I feel over the last years that I've seen you just growing up, just looking at your work. Like, how do you stay focused on just finding the new different eras or genres that you say of like finding those roles and making sure that stay connected, have those moments, and also just have different material that you can work with?
I would love to say it's all within my own doing, but it's not. I'm a firm believer that God has just really moved me in certain directions and um, has blessed me enough to be in the right time and place to receive certain characters.
Mhm.
Um, Oftentimes there's some roles that I look back on and think like, man, why didn't I get that? But there's life experiences that maybe I had to go through in
Mhm.
order to portray that character. And I always find that, you know, life is either imitating art or art is imitating life. And I find myself doing that dance quite often within the characters that I'm playing. But also too, as you kind of get older or you gain your legs within this industry and you start understanding like the type of characters that fit well on you.
Mhm.
Um, yes, I'm kind of up to the challenge of anything I can play, but also too, there's certain things that work well on me.
Mhm.
And I truly love finding the nuance. I truly love, characters uh, who are thought provoking, who pride themselves on intellect, characters who are friend based or loving, and those are just natural qualities that I gravitate towards to myself as Denzel. So sometimes I think subconsciously, like people will see that, or maybe I'll go in for a certain casting or whatnot, and they'll be like, "Ah, put that on Denzel,"
Yeah.
and then other times you really push yourself to find a character. Like Kango on paper is nothing like me, but once I was able to find the humanity in him, I really enjoyed playing him.
Yes, for sure. What is something that you feel over the course of this movie that will not only not with your character, but something else, maybe another character that you felt will reside with people, but also have that moment where it was powerful to you just seeing through the script or maybe when you were filming? Because I know you talked about earlier about your scene with the grant of rights, but is there a moment that you kind of watched and felt like, okay, this is something that I took in within myself?
Well, obviously Leia, with her portrayal of Vicaria, she is a powerhouse.
Mm,
Um, and I think, most notably, everybody's going to take away from Leia's journey and her plight and sort of her overall character arc. Two characters in particular to me that really stand out are Chad's portrayal of Donald,
mm,
and also Aisha, Riley's portrayal of Aisha within the film. Um, because Aisha is when you talk about a strong black woman, a black woman's intellect, a black woman's instinct and intuition, uh, it's really apparent with Aisha, and especially how she has to rear not only one child but a child on the way,
yeah.
and how she's really solid and stands by her community and doesn't want to speak negative or really like holds a certain regard or light for Chris in the community, even though certain atrocities have happened right within her own neighborhood.
Mm,
I think is truly a wonderful quality that Riley was able to bring to the screen. And the same thing with Chad's portrayal of Donald, because Donald is quite a confliction as well.
mm,
Donald is hurting. Donald's in pain, and it's very apparent, from the opening scenes, but
mm,
also to the way he stands by Vicaria, and challenges society's initial thoughts of Vicaria, and the way, again, we're protective of our own.
mm,
Outwardly, our own may be messing up, for lesser or better terms,
mm,
may be not necessarily the best example, but we stand by our own, and then we'll take that back home, and then we'll rear our children, or you know what I mean, like,
mm,
teach the lesson that needs to be learned privately. But we're always thinking about how are we being shown to the community first,
yeah.
and making sure we keep the housekeeping of the family to ourselves,
Mm,
not putting it on Front Street. And I
yeah.
think Donald and Aisha really do an incredible job on page, um, of keeping that housekeeping internal, you
Mm,
know. And so the strength of both of those characters, I'm excited for people to see on screen.
yeah.
And also just to what Riley and Chad respectively brought to those characters. I'm excited for people to watch their performances.
What's three words that you would describe the angry black girl and her monster?
3 words:
Mm,
challenging, revealing, thrilling.
mm, I love that. Why thrilling and challenging and what you said?
Why all of them?
Yeah.
Um, challenging because there's nuance,
Okay.
um, within the genre. You know, this can almost be a genre blend. It's not just a horror film.
Mm,
Uh, and particularly for us, again, just like I said, what I'm passionate about, what Bomani's passionate about, what every participant of this film is passionate about is challenging the stereotype of what this should be
yeah.
or who we are. Um, Revealing, because again, the big takeaway is hopefully audiences can walk away from this and have learned something,
Mm,
um, have an everlasting impression. Sometimes the best way to give medicine is obviously to put it in something that's sweet and delicious.
very
you
true.
know and so, even though yes, this is shock and awe and gore and hoary and it's entertainment,
Mm,
there's a lesson to be had here, and there's a lot of revelations that are made throughout the film.
mm.
There's wonderful arcs that are made throughout, um, and thrilling just because it's a hell of a ride. It's a fun time. So when you do get into the entertainment bag of the film, you know, there's genuine moments of suspense. There's David Lynch homages that Bomani was really excited about, you know, certain horror tropes that he was excited about. So it is a good time. You know,
Mm,
you're not just going to come here and read a book and walk away and, you know, think, oh man, I got my education for the day. No, you're also going to have a great time.
yes, for sure. Also too, do you feel how do you feel about just the not genre, but I would say dang, I lost my train of thought real quick. But no, I was gonna say to dang it, I really just thought had the question and just went away. But I was gonna say, what do you say to people that who are been like fans of your work or just seeing you over the years? What would you like to say to them?
Thank you. Truly, thank you. I mean, I don't have a job without people who actually enjoy my work. And I'm grateful for every single day I get to wake up and do the thing that I love. And it's an immense privilege to do this, you know, to have an occupation where people choose to enjoy your emotions.
Mhm.
You know, they want to know more about you and they want to see your portrayal and your expressions. And everything that I set out to put on screen comes from very real places. You know, it comes from depths that either I'm discovering in real time or, you know, things that I'm trying to work through within my own personal life.
Mhm.
And it's an honor, you know. There's a lot of things that life could have led me down. There's a lot of things that God maybe could have, you know, had the blessing of knowing or doing or the skill set, but to choose acting and to still be able to do it and to have people who enjoy my performances, I'm grateful for that because honestly, without people enjoying my performances, would I have a job? You know?
Also, too, besides the Angry Black Girl and the Her Monster, is there any other projects that you're working on?
Yeah, yeah. Outside of Angry Black Girl, uh, there's a couple things I shot last year that I'm excited about to see. Kind of, you know, as an actor, you shoot the project and then it goes into post production. You're like, well, when do we get to celebrate it?
Yeah.
Um, but also to behind the scenes, I've been developing some projects. 5150 is a short film I shot during 2020, the height of the lockdown,
Mhm.
and that now we're developing into a TV series with Javonda Depo and David Oyelowo. Um, and then right before what is this writer strike that's happening right now, and kind of the turmoil in the industry, I just recently finished a project that I co-wrote, co-directed, and starred in called Brand New.
Mhm.
And that's something that's been in development for the last year. Really, really excited about it. It's a wonderful project where I got to get all my friends together,
Mhm.
all the friends that I made within the industry and the people who I truly admire their artistry. We got to get together and make something.
Mhm.
Um, and selfishly, not just for myself, like I'm such a fan of everybody who's involved in this project and I love these people to death. And finally, we at least have like an outlet to showcase all their various different talents.
Mhm.
So we're in post production right now. This is actually my editing suite. So after this, I'm going to jump right back in and start back editing. So behind the camera, I've been doing more work. I just love telling stories, and again, it's an honor to even get to do what we get to do, and to wake up and to be able to create. So for me, it's the perpetual. How do I create something new? How do I make something? How do I express my voice? And I'm excited about the world getting to see that, getting to see more layers of me than just my on-screen persona.
Yes, director Denzel. I'm I'm here for it.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you so much for being able to talk to me this morning. Hope you have the rest of a great day. Get back to editing, all that fun stuff.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the time, Kimberly. This has been wonderful. And I love that picture behind you.
Thank you, JC Penney's.
Hey, come on, the shades of us. I see it.
Yes, yes. All
Yeah.
right.